Hi, this is Tara from Chaley's Couture Quilting, and today I'm going to teach you how to do a modern style block using a partial seam. It's going to be different from just doing like your left, right seam of a sashing and then doing your top and bottom. Instead, you're kind of going to do a sashing that goes and relies on each side as you go around to make a better visual effect. And I'm going to teach you the mathematical formula so that you can do this on any size center that you have from your piecing. So I got these scraps out of an orphan bin at a guild meeting, and it's all CAF, so it was a nice little find. I have already starched up my fabric, and I've cut out and fussy cut out the center of my block, which is measuring at a 6.5 by 6.5. But the problem is I have these 3-inch strips that I want to rim around this block, but I'm not sure how long I should cut them out. So I'm going to teach you how to do that formula right now. So here's the block formula. Your size of your center block plus the width of the strip needed minus a 1/2 inch for the seam allowance. So working with what I have currently, I have a 6.5 center block. I want it to complete when I'm all done and I've sewed my quilt top together. I would like the sashing part to be a 2.5 type in between the seams. So I'm going to cut them at 3. So you have to calculate the unfinished strip, okay? So this unfinished block, which is 6.5, the unfinished strip, which I'm cutting them out, they've already been cut to 3, I just have to tailor them now. And I'm going to get a 9.5 measurement minus a 1/2 inch seam allowance that you take from here and here. And that's going to give me a 9-inch strip that I need to cut. So I'm going to go over there to my cutting area and I'm going to make these all 9 inches. Okay, I have cut my strips to 9 inches and separated them from warm to cool for how I want my block to be arranged. And I'm going to go ahead and sew top one first. Okay. And I'm going to put it at the top here and put it all the way to the edge. And so what I'm going to do is going to take it over to my machine and I'm going to sew from the corner to the middle and I'll backstitch. I'm going to use a scant 1/4 inch on your machine. And for me, on my 535, it's just moving it over to the right by 1, but it depends on your machine. So scant inch is recommended for doing this. And I'm just going to sew, stop in the middle, backstitch, and this is going to, half of it's going to be left open. That's the most important step, is doing that part. Okay, I use a scant inch, 1.85 stitch, because I like to press my seams open, but you don't have to. And then it's kind of flappy right here, and that's fine. So I got my first one done. Now I'm going to take my second, and I'm going to put it at the top, like so. Line it up at the very top. Go all the way to the bottom, and it fits perfectly. And that, having that little bit of a scant means a lot. So then I'm going to sew down this side with that 1/4 inch scant. So this is the only one I ever left partially open, was that first one. And I sewed this one totally on from top to bottom. Then I'm going to take my next piece and I'm going to line it from the left to the right. Start here. And notice how it's fitting just perfect all the way across. And I'm going to sew all the way down again. After I've sewn this on, now here is the not really a tricky part, but just something that you need to remember to do. Fold that over in half, okay? so it's out of the way. And you're going to take your last strip, because you cut all 4 of those, remember, at 9 inches. So you're going to then come over here, and everything's fitting perfect. Look how wonderful this is. Fits perfect. You're just going to sew all the way down just like you do a normal strip. Now we're at the last part. I am about to go and start here again. I'm going to backstitch a little bit and go all the way down. But the thing is, here you want to make sure that, you know how we had pressed it, just make sure, I kind of like unpress it, like I bring it back to what it was a little bit, just at least right where that was. So let me straighten this up real fast for you. Nice and iron, just from the half to the end. I'm going to come back to where I left here, go a little bit back stitch, and then finish it normally all the way to the end. Okay? And then you're all done, and it finishes, this block in particular finishes at 11 1/4. Okay. Let's review the math. Center block that's unfinished, plus the width of the strip needed that's unfinished, minus the 50 or half-inch seam allowance. I work with numbers, sorry. The one I used today was a fussy cut flower, 6.5 center block, that's the square, but you're looking at one of the sides, unfinished, plus a 3-inch unfinished strip. It's going to get you 9.5, minus the 50 seam allowance, and you're not going to need to cut these side strips 3 by 9, okay? 3 by 9s. All 4 strips will be 3 by 9s. Let's do something different. You decide you have a center block that's a 12, and you want to have your sides finish at a 2, so you're going to cut them at a 2.5, okay? So your 12-inch block is unfinished, plus your 2.5 unfinished strip. It's going to get you 14.5, minus your seam allowance. Then you're going to need to cut those sides 14 length, okay? And that's how you do that formula. Hope you have fun.